Well, I guess first I want to thank Pat for this opportunity. We met in 2016 in Atlanta. Before we start the videos, I'll do a little housekeeping of my own. Yes, I do own AZ Carbide. Um, we're at azcarbide.com. We do sell worldwide, okay? Um, in fact, the UK is my largest customers. So, uh, for the last 10 years, I've attended the AAW, 10 years in a row. And that's through my sponsor, Carter Products, here in Walker, Michigan. And I've been a tool consultant with them for almost 12 years now, I guess. I do follow a bunch of you on Facebook, Instagram. You know, I'm familiar with Helen's work, Pat's work, Gary Lowe's, David Atkins, uh, Phil Irons, Andrew Hall. So it's kind of like I feel I know some of you people. So you know, this could be fun for me for sure. I also mentioned in this first video, I think it is, my retreat. This would have been year 6 for my retreat. I did cancel it. We had almost 110 people come into the house, and we would have had about 50 or 60 lathes. So you'll hear that in a Well, first, I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to Pat Carroll for inviting me to do this. It feels like quite an honor. I did join your group this week and paid the dues. I do follow a number of you on Facebook, so yeah, I'm thankful for the ability to do this. Sorry it has to be done by video, but out here in the country, we have virtually no internet connection. I got to meet Pat for the very first time in Atlanta, Georgia, AAW 2016. Yeah, we did tip a few. I spent my entire career self-employed. I was a sales rep covering 7 states. After 20 years of doing that, I bought my largest customer and was home every night. So it was nice. My entire career was spent in the garment industry, selling to government agencies and large corporations. My inspiration, my journey in wood turning started in 8th grade shop class. My regret is that I took 50 years off, or 45 years, before I went back to the lathe. We sold our business. I was 59 years old. We retired, or semi-retired, I guess. But I had to find something to do. We built our retirement home here. I had decided I needed a wood shop. My father did some woodworking, very little lathe work. So I thought, you know, maybe it's something I want to do. I bought a lathe 12 years ago. It was a little MIDI. I outgrew it in no time. My turning experience, I started out trying to be self-taught, but with the bowl gouge that was rather difficult. And after bouncing things off the walls in the basement, I decided to take some classes at a local retailer here. They held a lot of classes, and I really did enjoy those. I also enjoyed the AAW Journal, and shortly after, about the first year, I decided to take a class at John C. Campbell. That was a great experience. I did my very first hollow form. Coming back from there, I joined a club. We had a local club here. It wasn't a year old. Hadn't really gotten a hold of things and had everything set up. So I became their first vice president. It was fun. I got to meet club mentors and demonstrators. It really jumpstart my wood turning experience and helped accelerate me through a program to better myself. You know, there's all kinds of inspiration out there. It comes in many forms from many people. You want to do something, but you don't want to plagiarize. And I started fooling with Madrone, had the opportunity at SOFA to meet Christian Bouchard. I so admire his work, and also Barbara Dill. Her sculptural pieces are just some of the best. There's a guy there in the UK named Darren Wheeler. I've followed Darren for a long time. His sculptural pieces and wall pieces are just some of the best. And then Richard Zane Smith. I'm sure none of you have probably heard from him or know of him. He's a potter. He's a Native American. His work is spectacular. I got to see it at SOFA. His forms, shapes, and his colors are just incredible. I look him up on Facebook, Richard Zane Smith, just marvelous work. And then, you know, there's also people like Rebecca DeGroot. Rebecca has been like an adopted granddaughter. We've been friends for about 12 years. Just so enjoy being with her. As far as what inspires me, I tried to leave the Round and Brown community. I have started to turn things that are from the evening news. There's certain things that strike me, and I'll show you those. They're in my gallery. I've done 4 or 5 of those. The first one was Plastic, the Curse of Mother Earth. That was picked up by 4 Oceans. They're using it, the little video, it's only 3 minutes, as a teaching tool. That was quite an honor. You know, and some of my inspiration comes from hanging with people at my retreat. There's so much fun in the retreat. It started out as something when my wife was signing up for a quilting retreat. We were in Arizona, it was February, and I got to thinking, now, why can't I do that with wood turning? So the first year we got together, there might have been 25 of us, 15 lathes. We had a great time. The word spread quickly. I got to learn different tricks, techniques, inspiration, and the second year it grew to 60 paid and 45 lathes. Demonstrators and volunteers probably added another 30 people. This year we had 75 paid. We had 27 demonstrators. Now the list of demonstrators was just phenomenal, and that's what brought in so many people. You know, you take 75 paid, 27 demonstrators, another 15 volunteers. It gets to be a pretty big crowd here at our house. 50 lathes were scheduled to come in, and this year, to give you an idea, Sally Alt would be here, Rebecca DeGroot would be here, Jeff Horning, Jerry Messimer, Barbara Dill, Barry Todd, Joanne, I'm going to mess this up, Savang from Alberta, and Jim Etcher. That's just a few. There was a total of 27. This group has become family over what would have been the 6th year. I've already scheduled next year, July 10, 11, and 12, and most of them have agreed to come. Now, when I say they've agreed to come, that list of, these are volunteer instructors. They pay their own way here. They're paid absolutely nothing because it's family and because it's a great community. I just can't tell you what all it means to so many of us. I do like to turn hollow forms. John C. Campbell, that class was a hollow form burl turning class. That was my very first hollow form. In fact, I'll show you that. I've kept that. That was about our 40th reunion, or 40th anniversary, so I gave that to my wife. I love turning fresh cherry, whether it's a burl or straight wood. I turn a lot of mesquite burls. I like it because it doesn't move. It can have a crack in it. It's honey mesquite. It's out of Kingsville, Texas. Right now, I'm turning mostly madrone. I showed you in the shop tour the large madrone pieces, and that's all burl in those. I just love turning it, love the way it moves, and you'll see some of that in my gallery pieces. I have a number of them here. Most of them were shipped off to a gallery this week up north. They opened this week. It's one of the few areas in Michigan that's open. Most of us are still under a stay-at-home order. You know, as far as techniques, and I'll show you, I love using the Verde paints, the reactive paints. They're so much fun to fool with. You have a little bit of control, and you can always change it. You can add to it. You can add more paint. Most of my burls do come as timber. When I talk to somebody that's selling burls or cutting burls, I'll tell them to leave as much of the straight grain and let me pick and choose. I'll decide how I want to cut it and what direction I want to cut it in. I do buy some dry boards. Our club meets downtown Grand Rapids, Michigan at a mill shop. So he has tremendous wood supply, many thicknesses, all kinds of wood, and he cuts us a pretty good deal. So, you know, I do buy from him. As far as lathes go, I think that the 1221 from Jet, for its size and weight, is a nice little lathe. It's too heavy for me to travel with. I have two of them here. I love teaching on those, especially beginners. They're big enough for them. Their weight is good. But yeah, I do love my Robust. My American Beauty, 3 horsepower. It's got a great swing to it. I have started to move the headstock more. As I've gotten older, bending over the lathe, trying to see in or around a hollow form, it's just nice to get to the end of the lathe and be able to stand straight up. The other lathe I had was the Powermatic 3520B, and I couldn't adjust the height on it. So I had to build a platform. Last year, just before I got my Robust, I took a fall. I tripped and fell into the lathe. It wasn't running. Jammed my hand into it, broke a knuckle, jammed my kneecap. Now with the Robust, I adjust it to the height I want and need. That's the biggest, I think the greatest value in that lathe. It's just really a great lathe. As far as teaching goes, wow, some of my biggest rewards have been the retreats. I had the good fortune of, you know, teaching 5 retreats here. I also taught a retreat in Kingsville, Texas, where I get my mesquite at Nave's Sawmill. She had about 50 beginners, and I do mean real beginners. They were from the Naval Air Base there. Many of them suffered from PTSD. Just absolutely loved teaching those people. They really wanted to learn, and when you want to learn, it's easy to teach somebody like that. There's just a couple people there that were really special. I did teach again in Dallas in October at another retreat, Trinity River. I had a great time there. Many of the people from Corpus Christi, from the Naval Air Base, came up there. Again, a pleasure to see them and teach. A great facility they had there. It was just really fun. As far as demos, you know, I'll do a demo now for the local club or the 2 or 3 local clubs. I got burned out a couple years ago, went out on the road for 4 or 5 weeks. Driving just seemed like thousands of miles. The amount of prep work it takes, loaded up my Jeep, just was gone way too long. My wife traveled with me. She did some sales for the company, and I did demos. it's at my age, it's just gotten to be too much. I'll do some demos and record them. As you know from the beginning of this, I have no internet service, so I can't do live demos. I've tried everything under the sun to get an internet connection, so I'll have to stick with videos and teaching hands-on. And hopefully here in Michigan we can get back to hands-on, being together. So for me, 72 years old, been retired since I was 59, there's no reason for me to have an occupation. I don't want this to be an occupation. I want to do it with a passion and do it because I want to do it. You get back what you give, and that's why I like to teach. It's a hobby, and I'm fortunate enough. I pared down my galleries from 5 to 2. I'm left with Tubac, Arizona, which is an art community just north of the Mexican border. The whole community is art. Much of it is Mato Ortiz art. Mato Ortiz are a bunch of thin wall pottery people out of the central Mexico in the mountains. I did go there and study with them for 4 days. That was life-changing. To walk into a home and it's a dirt floor. These people go out and gather their own clay. They purify the clay. I mean, it's totally vertical, and the talent they possess is just second to none. So I do have some pieces left in Tubac. I sent off 3 cases to Glen Arbor, Michigan, what we call up north here. It's on the North Gold Coast. It's been my best gallery for 5 years. He just does a great job with my products and selling my products, promoting me. So I won't do another gallery here in Michigan. And he's open, so that's a huge benefit. I'm not sure where I'm going with my wood turning. I'll show you my round and browns, and then I'll show you what I call my evening news, or CBS's here 60 Minutes program. They kind of cross over to the political side, and at times you take some heat for that. One of the pieces is a pipe fitting, like you saw on my workbench, or you will see. It's Max Brozzi's kind of pipe fitting. So I'll show you those. I just not sure where I want to go. I've been accepted in a couple of big shows here in West Michigan in the last couple of days. One will be featured on TV on June 5th and 6th, so I feel good about that. I'll just see where it takes me. This is a hobby, so I want it to continue to be fun. I don't want it to be work or stressful. So, at any time, Pat can stop this entire process and read me some questions. If you have questions on my work, my shop, my wood, my tools, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I have a good Facebook page and a Facebook presence. I am on Instagram. On Facebook, it's Ronald G. Campbell, and on Instagram, it's AZ Carbide. So I'm going to walk you outside and walk you through some of my pieces. I hope it doesn't get to be too much. I've kind of rushed this because I'm going to have to upload this, which I know could take most of the night, and then Pat's going to have to download it to play it back to you. So we'll head outside now where my gallery is. I saw some of the questions.
Okay, well, just on the list there for you anyway. Do you have power problems run with so many lathes where you live?
So far, no, we have not. I have a 200 amp service to the barn, and we had one circuit that gave us some trouble, but no. Right now, we have no problems. We put up a 20 by 60 tent also. My barn is only 40 by 50, not well lit. So we've got these big tents we bring in, and usually there's a 10 by 20 and there's 5 or 6 10 by 10 tents we work out of.
Okay. What's the model of the robust behind you in the video, please, Ron?
It's an American Beauty.
Yeah, and the size of it. I know they have their different sizes.
No, American Beauty I think only comes in the one size. It's 20-inch swing. I don't even know what the bed length is, Pat, to be honest with you.
Okay. What's the tread size on the robust, Ron?
It's 1.25 inches, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, well, Ron's Imperial. Anybody metric over here, we'll just have to look at that one. Yeah, that's all the questions, Ron, for the moment. So we'll crack on with your next video then.
Well, this is the location of my shop. It's a pole barn. It's 40 by 50. Right-hand side is my shop. I keep a porch out there where I do some carving and embellishment work. In the barn is our winter home. We've traveled for about 8 or 9 years in that to different places in the Southwest and Florida. I have also wood storage in there. There's mesquite burls, 2 12-21s, a table saw, 4 10 by 10s, a bunch of coolers, that kind of thing for the retreat. And we'll zoom in a little there. That's the porch. This is where, I try to spend as much time almost outdoors as possible. I swing around here. This is 40 wooded acres surrounded by swamp. Even behind the house here, that is all swamp behind the house. This is where the parking takes place for the retreat, and all the way down the driveway. Driveway's about 1,500 feet, so we've got plenty of parking for 80 or 90 cars. This is the entrance to the shop. We're on the porch here. That happens to be the family flag. We fly that over the entranceway. It's a little bit of my artwork. It stays out here summer and winter. It stays here year-round. These are just pieces that I've accumulated and keep. The base here of the door is my doorstop, which everybody seems to think it's an art piece. Done a lot of work on that, just playing with it, not knowing what to do, so it's a doorstop now. And now we'll go inside. So this has become one of my wood storage areas. Just different cutoffs and woods that I keep around. Not sure why, I don't use much of it. Here's some more woods, some spalted maple, some Norfolk Island pine. The white painted one on the very bottom there is grapefruit, then walnut, and there's a story behind that burl. I bought that last year in Waco at the SWAT meet. And we'll move around here. That's a cast off from Andy DePietro. There is my vacuum. My dust collector, dust removal, runs across the top of the door. Filter is back over here. Those are bandsaws that maybe I've only used once, so I keep them over out of the way. This is my workbench. Yeah, a bunch of that shouldn't be on there right now. My little micro carver, wood burner. The piece of madrone there, it's moved tremendously. It's cracked on the bottom. Next to it there is a piece of madrone about 1/4 inch thick, and I put it in the microwave and it went through some major changes. It was pretty exciting to watch. It all happens in about 20 seconds. I've got some pipe fittings there. Working on those. My father was a pipe fitter, steam fitter, so I want to I want to pay tribute to him. I'm going to hopefully create some kind of a, I don't know, sculpture maybe. Yeah, Max Brosey does know I'm doing this. I did contact Max before I started it. Here's my bandsaw, Rikon, a fairly large one. I don't remember the horsepower on it now. I've had it a long time. I bought it, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. It's been all tricked out by my sponsor. And there's more saw blades, circle cutters, that kind of thing. Each one of these drawers, top drawer has some miscellaneous things in it. This particular drawer, it's all measuring devices. Bottom drawer is sanding. Top drawer on that side is different miscellaneous small tools, that kind of thing. Bottom drawer on that side is all sanding mandrels, that kind of thing. It's up here, this is all sanding. Left side is 2-inch sanding pads, I don't know, 60 to 400. Right side is sanding, sandpaper also, 5-inch rounds, and then miscellaneous sandpaper. This is my sharpening station, and I hope the background isn't too bright to see that. It is a slow speed grinder, CBN wheel on the right, have the one-way jig, also use the gauges for angle. Here's my lathe, and I know that's bright behind that, so we'll bring this down. Robust American Beauty. I've had it almost 2 years now. Had another lathe and had it for years, loved it. It was a Powermatic 3520B. This is a bandsaw from Carter Products, my sponsor. They've left it here. They don't have a use for it, so I guess I'm kind of storing it and using it very little, if at all. These are my hand tools. Yes, there's a lot of carbide there. I do own a carbide distributorship. Most of my tools are Carter, or Carter and Son are the Carter Products is my carbide cutters, carbide tools, and Thompson is my bowl gouges and other gouges. That's a captive hollowing system. I worked on development of that. Go around here. Yes, that's my microwave madrone drying area. I use Zinsser 2-part bleach. Man, it does a tremendous job. You can see the little piece on the left. I've screwed with it some, so it's lost some of its whiteness. I mean, it was really white prior to that. Yeah, I have heat. I have air conditioning. This happens to be my madrone soaking station. I keep my madrone as wet as I can. There's a piece I'm working on now. I wish it stayed that red. It's a beautiful piece of wood. I'll show you this is how I buy it in hunks like this. This is 10 by 10 by 12. Weighed in at 61 pounds, so it's about as wet as you can get. And there's some miscellaneous tools under there. That's Koa inside that box. That's just a platform I use on my lathe once in a while. These are first offs. This is part of the tool development stuff I did. This is Art Prize. This is a contest that I took part in for 3 or 4 years, and I'm going back to it again this year. It's the largest art competition in the world. They give away about $500,000. There's about 1,500 artists that enter from around the world. Yeah, these are pieces that I just haven't gone back to. I suffer kind of from ADD. I see something, I want to try it, I want to move on. This piece is called Roadkill. Making a collage out of that. Here is my airbrush and a bunch of that. These drawers are miscellaneous drawers. This particular drawer here is all carving. These other tools, this is all carbide cutters. There's tape in that one. So I try to keep things in their place. It's difficult to do. My shop is 16 by 32. It's plenty for me. I only do wood turning. I don't do any flat work. So it works, and you know, I have a good storage next door in the barn. We'll walk over to the barn and show you the gallery. I don't usually have a gallery out here, but I didn't. Walking around with a camera is not the easiest in the house and up and down stairs. So what you see here, the coffee urns, the coolers, all of this is pretty much for the retreat. I keep more than I probably should, but yeah. Here's another 1221. This is a spare. At times I'm fortunate enough to get friends to come over and turn with me. Back there in the corner, that's my burl collection, part of it. Much of what you see there are mesquite burls. They're out of Texas, and if you've not turned mesquite, there's just nothing like it. It doesn't move, and that is highly beneficial. The downfall may be that it's cracked. It grows cracked, and there's just not a lot you can do about it. Yes, that's my, yeah. I will use that on occasion to sandblast certain pieces. That's a 10 by 10. There's a 10 by 10 here. There's two more 10 by 10s on the other side of the coach. An old drill press that I never use. Microwave that I do use a great deal of. It's kind of all I have inside the station for my grinder and sharpening. I have 5 chucks or 6 chucks. They're all not in there now. They 2 Vic marks, 2 easy wood tool, and I think there's 3 of the Nova chucks. I have the big Vic mark and the smaller Vic mark. And I did change much of my lighting out to be LED. As I've gotten older, boy, lighting is everything. On this side, in the cabinetry, is different finishes. There's some glue, carnauba. That carnauba wax you see right there is tremendous. It's used on RVs, believe it or not. It's a liquid carnauba, and when you apply that to wood, it's amazing how your wood feels. I mean, it's hard to hold on to. It's so slippery. And then we'll go over here. Again, this is the area above my workbench. These are paints and different embellishments. There's Hampshire sheen I use on occasion. Milk paint. Love using milk paint on some of my products. Or pieces, I guess I should say. These are the metallic paints. Some of the metallic paints I use. Most of them today I get and use are Verde. Those happen to be Modern Masters. There's my India ink pens. I use those on, well, like this painted piece, colored piece up here. Whoops, whoops, whoops. That's it right up there. Now, you can see I started to pierce that one. I gave up on it. I pierced this other one, and I've got that down here. had it in a gallery recently, had $300 on it, couldn't sell it. So you look at a piece like that and you say, it's just not worth the effort. The other piece over here was interesting. Everybody did colored pencils. Come on into focus, there we go. I went ahead and just did pencils. It makes almost a leopard skin. The interesting part is that the lead, you can pull in and out of many of those. You can see some sticking out, I think, on the left side right there. Some of that is lead that sticks out. Sorry for the wobbling.
Okay, I guess we're back. That was the end of the shop tour. I didn't see any questions. Did you, Pat?
Yes, Ron, I have some for you. Okay, which TV channel are you on at the weekend? Did you mention, Ron, or which network?
Oh, you mean for the news?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier on somebody would like to know to have the channels, the USA channels.
Yeah, CBS. It's the 60-minute show. Comes on every Sunday at, I guess it's 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings. It's such a controversial show. It really gives me some inspiration. I can always find something to make out of one of those shows. What else, Pat?
Yep. Okay, Ron. How do you go about the selection process for your retreat, Ron? Or just give some details about how the attendees and your demonstrators, if you would, please.
Well, it's grown every year, mostly through word of mouth. In attending 10 straight AAWs, so many of these instructors come right at me at the AAW and want to participate. Last year in Raleigh, I picked up 4 or 5. I mean, Barbara Dill wanted in. I've already been contacted by Sammy Long here in the United States. And as far as we ask people to bring lays, okay? We want MIDI lays, we want them variable speed. We want you to be able to share that lathe. We set up one instructor with 4 lays and 4 students. And they've got 90 minutes to work on a project. If it's a big project, Rebecca's classes are usually 2 90-minute sessions. There's a few of those that go on, and there's also a bunch of off-lathe classes. I know last year at one point we had 3 carving classes going on all at one time. All 3 were filled. So it's kind of how we handle it. We charge $150 for Thursday night, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and that includes their lunches. So they pay nothing for the wood. It's a pretty good deal, and it's hands-on.
Sounds like a great event, Ron. Is that a Ron Brown's best laser guide on your hand hollowing tool?
Yes, Phil, it was. Ron Brown sends me some stuff to play with. I've done a couple of videos for Ron Brown. I'll probably do a video on that. Phil, I know, made a comment earlier about he's using one of my tools and he's happy with it. Phil and I went back and forth a lot a while back. What else, Pat?
Okay, Ron. Why do you soak the madrone, please?
I want to keep that madrone as wet as possible. It won't float, and when you dry it then and it gives up its moisture, it adds texture, it contorts, it moves in all kinds of different directions. You just don't want it to dry out. Even when I turn it, right now I've got a piece on the lathe, I shrink wrap it after I have shaped the outside. I don't want to lose any moisture until I'm ready to lose it.
Okay, Ron, that's the last of the questions for the moment. So if you'd like to go ahead with the part.
Yeah, we can go ahead with the gallery. The one thing I want to encourage y'all at the end is to give me some feedback on some of the last pieces I show you, the controversial pieces. So Paul, if you want to go ahead and do that video, buddy.
Here is one more piece that I'm quite proud of and really love this piece. I did carve the whale and the hook. Again, it was bought in Kauai several years ago. And I just had all kinds of inspirations with this piece. It's a beautiful piece of wood. I'm really not sure what it is. It is a hollow form. Yeah, just something I left out. I did have it in an exhibition a while back. I had priced it, and opening night I had somebody interested, so I panicked and took it out of the show. We've made the decision that we will keep this piece. Okay, the piece you're looking at there is part of my round and brown collection and what I really started turning. This is Norfolk Island pine. Only grows from Naples to Bradenton, Florida, west coast of Florida. Kind of a narrow band. Generally it's turned green. This happened to be turned dry. It was probably 3 years old. I just finished it a week or so ago. This is another piece of Norfolk Island pine. It is obviously a hollow form. I put a little finial and top on it. I mounted it on a piece of jack pine. It is a jack pine nodule. It's almost like the formation of a burl, but I've not found any on the property. The north side of our property is almost all pine. This is a piece, that's koa. I bought it in Kauai several years ago. I'm sorry that the color is so dark on it. We've had a thunderstorm move in, and I thought my lighting would be better outside, but it really isn't. There's some great chatoyance to the wood. The little piece here, I did show you that earlier. Yeah, it's a bowl, obviously. It's turned. I drew the flowers and vines on it, came back and pierced it, and came back and colored it. So that is, one of my round and brown pieces. Yeah, there's not much brown on it. It's really tan. This is a burl. I sold this piece 4 years ago. It was a struggle to make because this handle that holds the lid is a piece of scrap. So I had to make 4 or 5 different size spheres to try and make it hit here, the back, and the lid to close. And it all sits in there pretty good. Sold it 5 years ago at the retreat. My wife had a stroke, so I promised her I'd make another one. Well, last year at SWAT, I bought that big burl I showed you earlier, and I thought, well, I'll make her another one. And lo and behold, the buyer called me. They said they fell on some hard times. Would I buy it back? Wow, saved me. Saved me. And I still have a burl to turn. So, yeah, that was special. The next piece, this is where I enter the madrone zone. Sorry for all the movement. The little helmet here was fun to make. The crown is just a veneer piece. I think I showed you one on my workbench. You can warp these things up in just a matter of seconds, and you can sit there and just watch them move. It's really kind of exciting. And then it's got Verde paint on it, the reactive paints. There's bronze and copper on there, and they're just fun to do. I think I went on Facebook to Andrew Hall's Facebook page. He had made these in the past, and they really, really did interest me. So I'll give him credit for it. He's the inspiration behind that. Now this next piece, again, it's madrone. All these pieces are madrone. And I didn't get as much movement out of this piece. I make almost all of my pieces round bottom. If you don't, you can't get a flat bottom. It's obviously just going to change shape. Now we go to my political side. This one didn't get real political. This was really a fun piece. During the pandemic here in the United States, and maybe in your part of the country too, we had a run on toilet paper. Strange. I mean, just really strange. And we're out here in the woods, and I don't know, just hit me one day, I can make a roll of toilet paper. That could be fun. So it took me maybe 30 minutes, and I made this roll of toilet paper, hung it on a tree out here, and titled it, "Does a Bear Wipe in the Woods?" Just a little play. Once in a while you just have to do something that's not very serious. This next piece is really going to be hard to see. It's a sphere. I casted it, and it's in a burl. Our president a few years back said we need to put a man on Mars, and I thought, well, that could be fun. I could play with that. I could make the Red Planet. So I titled that Red Planet Landing. It did appear. I took it to AAW Raleigh last year. It was fun. I had my ancient Scottish spheres there. This is a piece I just finished. This is wet madrone turned. That's the natural color as it finishes. This piece, it weighs 1.3 ounces. You can see the amount of movement in it. Again, in the microwave, you can just watch things change shape. It only has Mahoney's walnut oil on it right now. It is textured to look like an old basket. I had a lot of fun with this piece, and you saw how much more madrone I have to turn. Some of you who are on Facebook may be aware of the mask that my wife and I have been making. PPE mask. As you know, almost the entire world was short on PPEs, personal protection, and we made 1,800 cloth masks. My wife is a quilter, so after making 1,800 of them, we still have a couple hundred left. I wanted to get in the shop, and I wanted to create something that looked like a mask, and it was a lot of fun. Again, it was turned wet madrone. Didn't get a tremendous amount of movement. Still had a great time. And this is my most recent piece, if I can get there. Yes, the top is a Max Brosi. I got to spend time with Max at AAW Raleigh last year. We had a good time together. Just a great individual. He knows I've made these. He knows I'm doing more of these. I wanted to evoke the appearance of a water drop. We have a major problem here in Michigan with water quality. There's lead in many of the pipes, especially in Detroit, and it's caused huge problems. After 2 years of discovering it, people are still having to buy water. And this is kind of a tribute to them. This will be my entry in Art Prize this year. And I've already got it, I think, accepted in one other show. So this is kind of where I'm going, I guess. I don't really know, but as long as I enjoy myself and feel creative and free to do things, I'm going to continue to do them. I think that concludes it. And if there's questions or comments, again, Pat will get those to me, and we'll answer any questions you have, if there are any. And I am thankful for taking part in this. Thanks. Back to you, Pat.
Ron, the madrone wall thickness, can you just explain why you turn it to the wall thickness that you do, whether it's aesthetics or functional or?
It's a combination of the two. The thinner you turn it, the more it will move, okay? Usually, if I really want it thin, I'll turn it with a light so a light shining up from under it, so I can get it real thin. And you want to be wall consistent so that it's all the same thickness, and it'll all move together. But I tend to turn these thinner than any of my other pieces.
Okay, Ron. Ron, does the walnut oil go rancid?
No, that's Mahoney's. It won't go rancid. Everybody I know uses Mahoney's. It's some of the best walnut oil out there. And it's made to put on wood like this and use it the way we do.
Okay. What is the thinnest you will turn the walls, Ron?
Oh, I don't know, Pat. I turned one a while back to look like a marble bag. I always had a bag of marbles when I was a kid. It wasn't in the microwave 10 seconds and I thought it was going to explode. I mean, it was extremely thin, just like the little piece of madrone I showed you there, that little basket type. It only weighs 1.2, 1.4 ounces. So it's extremely thin.
Yeah, I saw that piece. It was really nice, Ron. Yeah. Ron, you're getting lots of praise and people really loving your work, and a great presentation for us. There's not many more questions. So just before you go, would you just give your website a shout out again, please, just so people can get your details?
It's azcarbide.com. Okay.
Okay, Paul,
that's for our company.
I've just put the link
And then,
that.
Yeah, Paul just put the link up so y'all can find that. I do have a little bit of a presence on YouTube, but it really isn't much. I've never really pursued it, and I may start doing more with it.
Okay, Ron, well, that's something for us to look forward to, but just a big thank you for going to all that trouble, taking those videos and the tour of your workshop. Greatly appreciate it. So thank you again,
Well,
Ron.
I appreciate you including me, buddy. Glad to be part of the group.